Hey friends out there, Rob here. Today I want to talk to you about the Tascam Model 12 multi-track recorder. This thing, I think that with the Model 12, you could conquer the world. I really do. Okay, that's a very high praise. Let me share with you why. I've got this little track that I've laid down in just 40 minutes. This is literally, I haven't even had this for one day. I got it last night after work, got home, had a couple gigs. Photography gigs, and next thing you knew, I decided I was gonna just figure out how to use it, and this is what I got.
Sitting in the morning sun, and I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching the ship roll in, then I'll watch them roll away again.
Okay, enough of that. What I want to talk about here for a second is why this is so important. Okay, that may not sound like a big deal. Okay, so Dock of the Bay. And speaking of that, I'm going to share with you all the links on this. If you find this helpful, if you want to pick one up, please use the links. The likelihood is that this video will be demonetized because I'm doing a cover of the song. And you guys know that I bring you great content about photo and video and live streaming and all that other stuff. So really support the channel, subscribe, help out. Okay, great. My shameless plug out of the way. This is not sponsored by anybody, by the way. I bought this with and everything in here that I'm using has been acquired over a lifetime, and it's important because it's how I create what it is that I do. I want to share with you why this was important for me, and I'm going to try to do it in a way that makes the most sense for you, and hopefully, if it works, and you'll get value out of it. This is a 12-track recorder, but you don't have 12 inputs like you might think. I really consider it 8 tracks. There's a couple of reasons for that, but that's not as important as what you can do with it. Like you saw, what you heard was all done on here, okay? And if that isn't exciting, then you're watching the wrong video because that's amazing. 40 minutes, guys. 40 minutes is what it took me. In fact, had I known that was gonna be the case, I would have set up a camera originally, but I was so excited with it last night. When I was done, I was kind of in awe. Reason being this, let me ask you a question. Do you wanna make music? Like, do you have words inside your heart that have to get out there? And you can sing them, but maybe you don't really have a great voice, but you can play them, and maybe you can't really play them great, or maybe you're good enough to cowboy chord strum it or keyboard play it a few fingers, but you're just not there. Maybe you've got something. This Model 12 will put those ideas on paper for you, so to speak, on tape. It'll put them on tape because it's easy to use and it's one direct program. That's it. It's this. Now, we can route this, you can use it a bunch of different ways. This is not a review of the unit. This is how I made something right away and how awesome it was. Let me preface this. If you have a desktop audio workstation, a DAW, workflow, and that works for you, think GarageBand, think Cakewalk, well, great. If you're the type of person that likes to get a loop and put a loop here and then put something there and you see this big wide timeline and you kind of build from the big picture inwards, that's where a lot of people do it, and there's a lot of musicians work that way. It's excellent. That way doesn't work for me. As a guitarist, as someone that plays and wants people to enjoy what I'm doing, I put my compositions together completely different than loops on a screen. In fact, I've always had a hard time with GarageBand and workstations like that, mainly because I don't like to use a lot of things that I don't feel like I'm creating directly, with the exception of, like, I'm not a drummer and you gotta have drums, right? But I will play keyboard piece on my synth if I've got that, or something like that. I'll play those little pieces. When I talk about that, that was to say, if you are like me, if you think that way, if you don't mind, if you enjoy, loops and stuff, but want it to be more your own, where you can say, I did every bit of that, maybe with the exception of drums, then that's why this works for me. It's because it's not a big picture down. It's a small picture up, you build up. Meaning that when you play here, I was wondering how you would actually do your multi-track dubbing. It's so simple. You just push play and record whatever you want to record as your first track. I suggest your rhythm track, whether it be guitar or drums. I suggest drums. And then you've got your metronome for the rest of the song. So in this instance, how did I come up with Dock of the Bay? Let's talk about that. This is a digital mixer, digital multi-track recorder, and digital control surface. Let me share with you how that works. Everything coming in goes through an analog potentiometer, and gain boost. That's important. If you wanted actual distortion on your input, you could get it by boosting the gain. From there, it goes into the processor where it converts from analog to digital. At that point in time, it comes back over here and goes through your compressor, your EQ, your FX and auxiliary sends, back to your pan positions and your fader knobs. Once it comes from here and you're done, it heads over to your main bus, which is your master bus. There are several other buses that you can send out sound to different sources, but the path is still digital up to this point. As it goes to your FX send, actually it goes to your EQ out through your master to your headphones. Then it goes to your EQ. So it does your final EQ to your master out, which is controlled right here, and then it's converted from digital back to analog, so you have an analog signal going out. Now that analog signal could be recorded, but it converts from analog to digital to do all the processing, and then back from digital to analog. That's really cool. That gives you a much more organic sound. And the digital stuff allows you to do a lot of additional things that you wouldn't do with just a straight up analog mixer. I did Dock of the Bay, so this video might get demonetized because I'm covering a song that's going to be pretty close, according to the bots, according to the algorithm, to a copywritten piece of music. And that's fine, I understand that. And I've got a YouTube partner program, and Otis Redding and his descendants, if there's some monetization on this, they should get it, it's his song. I got no problem with that. I'm happy that that can be an inspiration for me and for you guys. And how crazy it is that that was a song that popped. My father, who passed away, he must have been with me the other night or last night when I got this, because that was a song he loved. That and the Stones, Start Me Up. And I hadn't played the song in a long time, years maybe, and it just popped in my head. Okay, so now that that's all been said, 40 minutes, what do you get in 40 minutes? Okay, so the first thing is this. I had to lay down my drums, so I'm gonna use this. I hope you can kind of see over my shoulder here. It looks like we're still in focus up there, which is good. So we've got a couple things as we're looking. This is where you're gonna control everything. This is where it's so simple. So for me, I wanted to do it, but I couldn't remember how to play it, so I just opened up Ultimate Guitar tab. What do you do, right? I mean, I don't have that song memorized. And I've got the lyrics and the chords. F, A sharp, and down to G, or something like that. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. That's where I went. And by doing so, I saw, oh, it's in the key of F. Oh, that's F major pentatonic. That's simple. Okay, I can do that. Now, the nice part about this is I got to thinking, how am I going to lay it out in a way that makes sense? Well, if I was looping on the floor, which I do a lot, I do my rhythm first, usually on the guitar or with my drums. It's the exact same thing here. So what you're about to hear is a rhythm. So we're going to go ahead and press play. Rhythm is on track 6. Okay, I'm going to pull this down a little bit so you can hear my voice in the background, or hear it in the background as I'm talking. So I'm sitting here singing out loud the song in my head after, I guess I'll go ahead and actually stop it, after pulling it up and selecting the rhythm pattern. The Beat Buddy allows you to do fills, and it's got like 8 or 10 different kinds of fills depending on when you press the fill button, which is just one button. It's a one button operation. So I'm going, sitting on the dock of the bay, pressing it when I want the drum to do it. Otherwise, in the background, the beat's doing the beat. So that's how I'm creating that track. Okay, now I want to go back. I did create a mark at 12 seconds, so I can press the back button to get to my mark at 12 seconds. That's where everything begins. After that, I needed to lay down a rhythm guitar. And I did that just on my Fender, and that sounds something like this. As you can see, pretty simple, nothing too difficult there. Just lay down some rhythm guitar. Now here's the nice part. You don't have to be great, right? Because we're looping, looping, it feels like looping. Because we're layering these tracks, we've got a lot that we can do with these tracks. And right now, I know for a fact that there's going to be something else. So that was my guitar panned to the right. So I need another guitar. I need one that's kind of giving me a little harmony or a little bit more movement. Because the other one was very staccato. So I've got one that's just kind of gonna fill in there with the kick drum, kind of like what a bass guitar would do, but I don't have a bass guitar. If I had a bass and we had a bass, then the bass would really be, I would have done the bass and the drums first. Anyways, so the next one is this one. So we're gonna come in and you're gonna hear. too clean. I said 40 minutes, I didn't say perfect. And now you can kind of see why it's so exciting to hear this kind of stuff, because think about that for a second. You've already heard the song at the beginning. I'll play the whole thing at the end for you. But think about what that actually means. All these pieces, as you begin to layer them and you begin to EQ them and add effects to them, and you're only going to add one effect, or you can double up on some at the bottom. I haven't played around with them. I like the studio reverb here. It sounds pretty good. And I've used the compressor and different things to kind of, I've really sweetened the mix. I've done it right here and then recorded my SD mix down. So think about that. We started with the drums. Then we added some guitar. And then we added some harmony, a little movement. And what about some lead guitar? Okay, so you see how those just automatically jump right over top of each other. And you might be saying right now, goodness, I can do that. Yes, that's my point. That's why you in the Model 12 can conquer the world. You can do that. That's what I'm telling you right now. You can do that. You can do that right now. You can do that not yesterday and not tomorrow. You can get up and do it now. Okay, enough said. Now we've got to add some vocals, right? And obviously, we've got a couple of different kind of vocals we're going to add. The first one I want you to hear, because you deserve to hear how bad of a singer I actually am. Okay? Obviously, I can sing some things quite a bit better, especially when I'm trying. This is not one of them, but here is how it goes.
Sitting in the morning sun, and I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching the ships roll in, then I'll watch them roll away again.
Great.
I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll.
Okay, I gotta bring that back because it gets funnier. I also needed to record some backup vocals to go along with that. And because I want you to laugh and have a good time, because you should be having a good time in this video. If you're not, you're watching the wrong video, or you're watching it in a bad mood. And I hope that this cheers you up. I decided I needed to track some backup vocals. So I was running out of tracks. I had not used track 1 because I wanted to keep that available, right, for talking, well, like I'm doing now. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. So I used a stereo track, which I knew would also have the benefit of, if I brought it into like Audition, it would break into left and right. So it's just one input, but I would get a stereo copy of it. Not panned in any direction, just two monos, because it's not really stereo. And so when I checked out the track file, just by taking the SD card out of here and putting it in Audition, all 12 tracks were there, all separated individually, plus my master mix down, which meant I had a great reference for what I did here, and then I could further sweeten or do whatever there, and everything was already synchronized. And I had a dual vocal track, which means I could put one far in the background with some like plate reverb and just really push it back there and let it be kind of ambient and turn in more into like something in the background, and I could bring the first one up and give it a little bit of crunch if I wanted to. In any event, here you go. Here's what it is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I did decide to go a little wild here.
Oh, yeah. Just sitting on the bay.
What?
Watching time roll away.
At one point later, I talk about the big old bridge.
Yeah. Wasting time.
Okay, so I think after hearing that, it's only fair to put those two together so that you can actually kind of hear them in context.
And I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching the ships roll
Now I'm gonna go ahead and bring
in.
in.
Then I'll watch them
drum.
roll away again.
Okay, see how it comes together?
Sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away.
We've got our
Sitting on the dock of the bay,
guitar.
wasting time.
Now we need something to back
I
the voice
left
up.
my
which is
home in Georgia, and I headed for the Frisco Bay. 'Cause I've got nothing to live for, baby. Looks like nothing's gonna come my way. Yeah, I'm sitting on the dock.
This is fun because now you've got to see how it's actually working, right? You've got to see the entire part of what we're doing here. Okay, final part. Okay, so what I want to talk about now are the inputs. If you didn't realize, it's the Model 12, it's a 12-track recorder. The way Tascam talks about that is kind of iffy. It's really 8 inputs, 2 of which are stereo. So you've got 6 mono, 2 stereo, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then what your main mix is a stereo, 11, 12. Come on, you realize that kind of sucks, right? You really only have 8 inputs, and then the 11, 12, they call it a 12-track recorder, is actually just a mix of your main. Like, you have to have a main in the first place to have, well, a soundboard, or else you won't have one. They could have easily just said the sub was also a recordable channel, you know, that 13, 14. It would all be a lie. Well, that's harsh. This is an excellent device. What I'm trying to tell you is, if you didn't know that going into it and you think, oh, I'm gonna have 12 tracks. No, you're not. You're gonna have 8. You're gonna use those 8 up quickly. The nice part about it being a digital recorder on the insides means that you don't have to necessarily move your inputs. If you don't have a lot of mics, you can just bounce them, which means record on one track and move it to another. You can mix down from a couple tracks to one and then clear the other tracks and then load that first mix down in order to gain more. You lose editing capability after the mix down though, other than that final mix that you're using. So if you ever do that, then store them as separate songs so you can always go back and retrieve the projects that caused the mix down that you loaded to your new songs and give them names like part 1, 2, 3, and final, such and such. You might ask, how would I get other things in here? And I would get them in, I use the XSWD by Sennheiser. I have not liked this in the past because of reasons, the way I'm a wedding photographer, videographer. I don't find that they have a good transmit range out on the beach. That changes the story when we go inside. You know, you're at a conference hall doing a wedding or something, the signals reflect and reverberate. It works a lot better. Here as well, they work very well because I'm in a small room. I don't have to go too far. So just like a cable plugs in and then I don't have to worry about the cables. They last a few hours. It's great. There's another way that I do it, just like I'm doing with my lavalier. You can plug these in with a lavalier, or you can use an XLR at a 1/4 inch or RCA or adapter of some sort, and they just work great. And when you plug in this way, you might think you're gonna have something dangling. Actually, it gives you the ability to kind of move around so you get a better connection. If you've got to run a long wire and you want to be on top of something or hidden, it's just nice. So they've worked well. However, because you can bounce tracks, you don't necessarily need a whole bunch of tracks. When I think about those, though, you might think if you're going to record drums, you know, you can do drums with you could do drums with just one mic. But realistically, you want 2 mics for your drums. And really, if I mic drums, I want 4 mics. Well, that's 4 inputs or 2 stereo inputs. That's a spot where 2 stereo would work. Yeah, no, I don't mess around with any of that. In that case, I think I would just grab my Tascam Porta Capture X8 or my Zoom H6, and each of those have 6 inputs, right? So between the microphones, which are 2 inputs, which on both of them can be changed out for different kinds of inputs, such as XLRs, and the 4 inputs, which are XLR or 1/4 inch on the side, you've got 6 inputs. So you could mic and EQ on the Tascam or a drum set with 4 mics or 6 mics, and send that signal out as a line out into here. And since it's already gained up and you've already done some EQ and compression on there, you could very easily change it here. And you might say, oh my goodness, well, that's a long way to send all that stuff. No, it's not. You're gonna do it anyways. You had to run mic cables to it anyway. So just put your Tascam Porta Capture X8 right here, run the mic cable to it, or these, right? And then go. It's that simple. I hope that you've had a good time. I'm gonna play the song in the background for you while you're having a check out of what we're doing. I wanna thank you so much for watching and remind you guys that I'll catch you all on the flip side. Bye for now.
Sitting in the morning sun, and I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching the ship roll in, then I'll watch them roll away again. Sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tides roll away. I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time. I left my home in Georgia, and I headed for the Frisco Bay, 'cause I've got nothing to live for. Looks like nothing's gonna come my way. Yeah, I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Sitting on that dock of the bay, wasting time. Looks like nothing's gonna change. Everything seems to stay the same. I can't do what 10 people tell me to do, so I remain the same. Sitting here resting my bones, and this loneliness won't leave me alone. 2,000 miles I've rode just to make this dock my home. Yeah, so I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time.